Hi, Major Anthony Juliana here for our first episode of How to Get Out of the Men's Ministry Desert. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the greatest needs of men. We'll hear from men across the Texas Division as they share what their thoughts and ideas are, and then we'll look at the reasons why men's ministries is important. So join me as we get right into today's teaching on how to get out of the men's ministry desert. So hello, and thank you for allowing me to take these next few moments to come into your space where you are, whether you are watching this individually or whether or not you're watching it in a small group. Just wanted to say thank you for taking a moment to learn and grow and develop your men's ministry. Again, whether that's an individual role that you're taking or whether or not that's what you're doing as a group, look so forward to sharing with you and to hearing from you how this blesses and changes your ministry. You know, for a while now, we've kind of all been in a state of uncertainty, right? Our men's ministries, as well as other ministries in the Corps, may have felt like you've been in a desert of sorts, in a dry spell, in a period of time that didn't feel encouraging or lush and green and growing, right? And yet, some of you who are watching today may know or have been a part of a men's ministry somewhere here in the Texas Division, where your Salvation Army men's ministry has been active, has been continuing to do some things. I'm reminded of the men over there in Lubbock, Texas, and Lubbock, even in the midst of COVID, their men's ministries was taking on the development and the production of Hope Totes. You were building Hope Totes and distributing those, and every Sunday I know you help set up for parking lot church and worship there, and so that's something exciting that's still taking place. Over in Waco, I know you men are continuing to do Bible study series, things like the Andy Griffin and the Bonanza series, as well as others that you have done and are continuing to do, as well as projects, fundraising projects like selling parking spaces downtown, or even the striping of your Corps parking lot. Thank you for continuing to participate that way. And Sherman, over in Sherman, just at Father's Day, you were participating in the Big Bad Barbecue, where you did a fellowship and worship together, and then you went and cooked a meal and shared that meal with the community and made sure that men and their families were invited to the Salvation Army. Incredible, incredible things that are still going on. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate it. And the Lord is thankful for that. I mean, that you've been faithful in your call in your men's ministry. We're going to take some time today for all of us to go through a teaching on leadership development for your men's ministries. You know, how do we find leaders for our men's ministry? How do we train leaders for our men's ministry? What kind of model can we have for our men's ministries? And we're also going to talk about some relationships that we should have as men. The teaching is called How to Get Out of the Men's Ministry Desert, and we're going to show you how to do some of that today. So let's just kind of dig right in. Let's begin with a discussion today, and the question that I want to ask you, and this is something that you can answer yourself, or if you want to put the video on pause and kind of have this discussion as a group, even that's fine. If you want to write down your ideas and share them with your corps officer later, however you want to kind of engage in this discussion. But we want to talk about and ask the question, what are the characteristics of men today that we should be paying attention to? Not only their characteristics, but what are the greatest needs that men have? What are their pressure points? What are those things that kind of set us aside and set us apart that we really need some specific answers to, some ministry regarding, some sort of connection and involvement in answering the issues of manhood today. And so I've asked some folks just to share briefly their ideas of what are the greatest needs or stressors for men today. And so I've asked them just to share that with you. So just take a look and see what some of their answers were.
Spiritual development.
Respect. One of our stresses and anxieties are work, money, and health. Jesus.
Mentorship. Or keeping core values and keeping a sound mind with a good foundation.
Well, in my opinion, I think it's self-esteem. Men have gotten where now that they have such low self-esteem that everything has fell apart. They're losing their jobs, they're losing their families, they can't support them, and that's what's happening. And I just think that we need to do something to help these men to be loved, because that's a lot of the self-esteem is being loved, because a lot of them say, no one loves me or nobody wants me. But we as men, we need to step up and take care of this self-esteem, this lowest self-esteem, and get them going.
Today would have to be jobs or lack of employment.
Keeping a job that can help the family.
I think one of the greatest needs is being able to express emotion, and also lack of godly fellowship.
Having to be the men of the house or the providers for their family, and not wanting to let anybody down. He said one of his stresses or anxieties are women.
All right, guys, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. So let's make a mental list. Okay, we can do that today. Let's just make a mental list of how your corps is meeting the needs of men. Now, again, I understand that in recent days we've had some changes in what corps ministry looks like and to what extent we can fellowship, but nonetheless, our role still is to minister to people. And so how has your corps been ministering and meeting the needs of men? Perhaps we can make this a little bit more personal too, right? What has your involvement been in men's ministries? Have you been involved? To what extent have you been involved? Even if it's we've engaged in a Bible study online together, what has been your personal involvement in men's ministries? And then go ahead and ask yourselves, again individually if you want, or as a group if you want, what has been the greatest strengths of your men's ministries? And you know, this is a two-sided coin. It's always two questions when I have this discussion. What is your greatest strengths of them as a men's ministries? But I also am interested in knowing what's the greatest weakness of your men's ministries. And if we can be honest with those answers, if we can be honest with ourselves about what's working and what's not, and how we're meeting the needs of men, particularly as we've just heard them expressed, then I think we can go a long way in developing a leadership team for our men's ministries.